And we're off. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this live episode of the All Dolphins podcast on this Sunday, August 31st, the last day of the month. And tomorrow, Monday, September 1st, officially kicks off game week, and the crowd goes nuts. So figured this would be a good time to do our Miami Dolphins on SI via the All Dolphins podcast season outlook. So I'm joined this evening by Dante Collinelli, my deputy editor. Dante, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited for real football to be played soon. The preseason's cool in its own way, but nothing compares to the regular season, man. I'm excited.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what the wins and losses on the field so we can stop trying to talk about what's going to happen like any of us really know, and then take shots and arrows all over the place because some of us are not painting beautiful pictures of Super Bowl parades. So sorry, we try to call it as it is here on the All Dolphins podcast. If it's too negative at times, again, win a playoff game sometime in a 25-year span, and it's going to be a lot more positive. So hopefully this is a year it happens. We decided to schedule this at 6 p.m. on this evening as a warm-up, and also because I don't want to clash against the University of Miami. Big game at Hard Rock Stadium against the University of Notre Dame, and a couple of quick history lessons with a personal touch before we jump in on all things Dolphins. And there are some Dolphin connections related to the Notre Dame UM game. First, personal note on here, when I first started my journalism career was back in the 80s with the Miami News in Miami, and I was backup reporter for the University of Miami football team. And in 1985, Notre Dame was coming down here in what became then Coach Jerry Faust's last game. I got a telephone interview with the dude, like I think it was a Tuesday of the game. And part of the angle was like his shaky future, which was not looking good at the time. And the following morning, Notre Dame announced they were moving on, that this would be his last game. And if you watch the documentary, the great documentary, The U, the 30 for 30, you will see at one point when they talk about the Notre Dame UM rivalry, my byline by Alain.
Hey, there we go.
I still have not gotten a royalty check for my appearance in the documentary. I need to talk to my lawyers about that.
Right.
So the other Dolphins connection, it's an interesting one. And I know there are a lot of old Dolphin Digest subscribers who watch the podcast. The starting quarterback for Notre Dame Sunday evening is going to be C.J. Carr. C.J. Carr happens to be the grandson of former Michigan head coach Lloyd Carr, and also the grandson of former Michigan All-American and Dolphin Digest publisher Tom Curtis. So there's a personal connection over there. So, and I know C.J. Carr's mother, Tammy Carr, who would show up at the office every once in a while. Great lady, great woman. Normally, I would wish nothing but success for her son. But sorry, let's go you. Okay. Anyway, let's dive into the Dolphins here. As I mentioned earlier, this is like kind of our Dolphins season preview. And since I listened to you guys, what you want to do, I have Larry Chapman hit me up on social media wanting a game-by-game prediction from both Dante and I. You're going to get it. And then Caleb in the comment on YouTube was perturbed when I talked about this 2025 Dolphin roster not matching up to 2023, scolded me for how about comparing it to last year. We will do that as well, my friend. So overall, let me start with this, Dante. As you approach this 2025 regular season, what is your overall feeling towards the Dolphin? Is it guarded optimism, unbridled optimism, deep concern? Where do you stand?
I think I'm cautiously optimistic about this team, which I think is different than a lot of the national pundits, right? Like I feel like a lot of what I read from the national pundits are the Dolphins are a team that's closer to the first overall pick than they are to the playoffs, and I don't think that's true. I don't want to spoil my prediction because we're going to get into that, but I have them much closer to the playoffs than I do the first overall pick, and I think, look, I understand why some people have pessimism about this team. There's a lot of like ifs, right? There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts about it. But I can't do anything about that, right? Like I can't sit here and try to predict injuries and different things like that. I'm looking at the roster. To me, this is an okay roster. It has some holes. It's not perfect, but I think it's a good roster, generally speaking. Is it as good as previous year's rosters? Is it one of the best rosters in the AFC? We can get into that. That'll be a part of the podcast, but I don't think this is a bad roster. I don't think this is a bad team. And I think that they won 8 games last year without Tua for 6 of them. I really like. They weren't. Look, last year was not good. I'm not trying to say that last year was good, but they weren't a disaster last year. For the whole year, they were a disaster when Tua didn't play. Yes, absolutely, but like they won 8 games. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic about the Dolphins being a competitive football team that competes for a playoff spot. I don't know that I'm ready to say that the AFC East is a real race yet, but I think the Dolphins are going to compete for a playoff spot. I really do. I think they can be a wild card team, and I think if they get to the postseason healthy, I think they'll be dangerous just because they have so many star-level players.
Okay, that's fair. And when you mentioned the national expectations, no, and they are bad. And I saw 5-12, I saw 6-11, and then NFL.com has 29 analysts who were asked to rank their teams from 1 through 7, which is a 7 season AFC playoffs. Not one of them had the Dolphins in their top 7 in the AFC. Not one of them. They were one of only 4 teams in the league that had not one person pick them to make the playoffs, which I think is ridiculous personally in terms of how we're looking at the Dolphins. As I've said many times on the podcast, and for those who accuse me of being negative, I say that to you, number one. What I have said all along is the Dolphins have the potential to accomplish really good things. What they do have is an awful lot of question marks that are going to require affirmative answers for them to have the success they want to have. And there's just no way around it. And then I can't sugarcoat it. They have more question marks than your Buffalo Bills, your Kansas City Chiefs, your Cincinnati Bengals, your Baltimore Ravens, and a lot of those teams. But that doesn't mean they can't go on and have a really good year. It's just going to require breaks falling their way. Let's attack Caleb, my man. Here's your deal. You like me comparing 2025 to 2023 roster? Okay, Dante, this roster compared to last year's roster.
I think oh man. Okay, so at the top level, it is worse than last year's roster, right? Like there's no matter what you think about Jalen Ramsey, he is better than every corner in the Dolphins corner room, right? We can sit here and not be happy with how he handled his exit or how many new contracts he wants. He's a good player still on the field. I think Kendall Fuller might even be CB1 in this room still. So not great there. I think if you look at the offensive line, I struggle with that one because at guard, you're significantly better. And I like Patrick Paul, but he's not Teron Armstead. So what's your trade-off there?
He may
right. He could be, right. But and I wouldn't expect him to be in, what is essentially year 1 for him, right? Year 1.5, if you will, right? He had a redshirt season. He played 4 games. So like, I think they're a little bit weaker there, but I don't know. Like, I kind of like, I like the safety room better this year. I think that's an improvement. I like the linebacker room better. I think that's an improvement. I think if your edges are healthy, I think that room is better. It's an if. There's a lot of ifs on this roster. We could be here all night if we wanted to do all the ifs on the Dolphins. So there's some trade-offs. I think at the top level, last year's roster is better. But when I look at the depth of this roster, I feel like they have, in some spots, I like the depth a little bit better. So to me, it's a bit of a trade-off. Ultimately, though, like you're betting on health, right? Like that's what's going to make this roster better than last year's roster is 17 games of Bradley Chubb, 17 games of Jalen Phillips, 17 games of Tua Tagovailoa. Like that's what's going to make this roster better. On paper, though, I think you probably look at last year's roster on paper, and it's probably a little bit better. But I do think that this year's roster has some advantages to it.
No, I agree. And a couple of quick points here. And because I think part of Caleb's point was also he was complaining they had some guys who were like, and I apologize, Caleb, if I'm not reading your message correctly, but something along the lines of like, more than talent alone, it's better chemistry and they have better fit. Well, unfortunately, like Dante mentioned, Jalen Ramsey can be kind of a pain in the ass, but he also can cover once the ball's in the air. As much of a pain in the ass as he is, he'll still cover him better than what the Dolphins have on the roster. Along the defensive line, right now they don't have anybody to this point who comes close to Calais Campbell. Yes, it could be that at some point. Sure, he's not there yet, and and I know you mentioned, and again, I hate to just single you out, but you something about like Calais Campbell, just a big name last year. No, sorry, dude played some kind of ball last year. Sorry, I don't know if you were watching, but that dude played some kind of ball. I'm with you on the offensive line. I think it's potentially better because of the two guards. That's a significant upgrade. James Daniels and Savaiinaya over Rob Jones and Liam Eichenberg. At tight end, they're not better. Unless because Darren Waller is such a question mark, and I mean,
we'll see, right? It's another if.
He hasn't practiced. He was acquired July 1st. I mean, you're not gonna tell me something's not weird about that. At running back, no, because last year you had at this time last year you had Raheem Mostert, who was a proven commodity. Ollie Gordon too may well become better than Raheem Mostert. We don't know that yet. The quarterback situation. I mean, it's the same starter. The backups, I think I feel a little bit more confident about Zach Wilson than Quinn Ewers than I did about Skylar Thompson and Mike White.
Sure.
But again, we don't know what Zach Wilson is post New York Jets days. So to me, I still think, and then the cornerback room, like again, last year you had two solid pros at cornerback, including a potential Hall of Famer, Jalen Ramsey. So that's a major drop off. Sorry. Safety, I'm with you. Their linebacker, they're clearly better. The edge, they're better and deeper. I think overall, it's close to a wash. I think maybe a hair. I'd go a hair towards 2024. But again, and this is to say they were in 8-9 last year with Tua missing 6+ games. If that doesn't happen, obviously, and then if Chubb's playing this year, which is a bonus, if Jalen Phillips doesn't go out in the 4th game of the season, if Austin Jackson can stay healthy, that makes a big difference.
It does. I think the Dolphins are betting on having the right people in the building over the most talented people in the building, which we can sit here and debate whether that's a good strategy or not. I applaud them for learning from their mistakes, maybe a little bit too late. We'll see. But the whole, this most recent version of the rebuild, right? It was, we're just going to get every star that exists, whether that's on the free agent market or in trades, we're involved, whether we get them or not. We're going to build this team that way. And they kind of did a reset this offseason in a lot of ways. And so we'll see. That's what they're betting on. They're betting on, hey, we have the right guys in the building. We're going to be a tougher team. We're going to be, more physical. We're going to be more buttoned up, more disciplined. The locker room will be better. I don't know if any of those things are going to work. I don't. That's what they're betting on over stars, right? Like that's what it is. That's the only reason you get rid of players like Jalen Ramsey and, you don't even really make a real attempt to bring Javon Holland back. Like that's why you do that stuff, right? Like we'll see if it works out.
So I forgot to do my official welcome spiel because I suck and I always forget to do this. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. First and foremost, I always forget to do this. I mean, shame. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I do read the comments. I reply to a lot of them. Keep them respectful if you don't mind. It's not a major asking to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. That's fine. Just save the clown and the doofus or whatever. And now, and please check out the website, MiamiDolphinsOnSide.com, where this weekend Dante did something, and we may get into it as well. Dante wrote about X factors on each unit, bold predictions. I wrote about the 5 biggest reasons for optimism and the 5 biggest reasons for concerns. I'm not going to go over all of them because I want you to read it for free, MiamiDolphinsOnSide.com. But one of my biggest reasons for concern was because they have an awful lot of young players upon which they will be relying. Now, that's all the caveat to that, it's that 5, that would be a major reason for optimism down the road, because as it looks now, it sure as hell looks like the Dolphins have hit on Kenneth Grant, Jonas Savaiina, not to the same extent. Jason Marshall Jr., absolutely. Ollie Gordon, too, absolutely. Quinn Ewers as a backup quarterback, absolutely. But again, preseason training camp, whole different ball game than their first regular season, which is why I am cautiously optimistic about what this Dolphins team can do with those young players, but there's also a level of concern.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I tweeted this at the end of last week where I laid out the entire draft class. I mean, right now it's going to be Grant is a starter. Savaiina is going to start at guard.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Marshall Jr. looks like the starting slot corner in week 1. Then you have Jordan Phillips and Ollie Gordon, who are going to be rotational contributors, it seems like, right? Yep. Maybe not starters, but they're going to play a lot of snaps and contribute. Like you said, Quinn Ewers looks like a viable take at a backup in the 7th round. We'll see how he develops. Zeke Biggers makes the roster as a 7th round pick. I think that's a win. Not every 7th round pick makes the roster. I think it's like 40% of them get cut, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head. So, like, that's pretty good, especially considering they only had 2 picks in the first. When did they take Phillips? Like 150th? They had 2 picks in the top 150. Like, that's a good start. But again, the caveat being it's only the preseason. It's only training camp. We'll see. It's going to be much harder for these guys to perform that well for a 17-game NFL season. It'll be different, and there'll be some bumps in the road, some ups and downs. But I'm pretty optimistic about the draft class. I think everyone looks about as built. We just have to see if they can carry that into regular season football at this point.
Correct. No, and again, there's all the reason in the world for optimism with that group, and even with the team as a whole. And I don't know, for some reason, if you folks think I'm painting this picture of doom and gloom. No, I'm not painting this picture of gloom and doom. There are possibilities here. We just don't know. So without further ado, Larry Chapman, we're going to take care of you here. Dante, I gave him an assignment. I got mine here as well. Let's go. We'll go we'll go each game, and then you give yours, I give mine. Go ahead. At Indianapolis, week 1.
All right, I have a win here. I don't have much faith in the Colts and Daniel Jones. I think the Dolphins are a better team and pretty much all 3 units, if I'm being honest.
Okay, and this is where I decided not to do, because the Dolphins usually the past 3 years under Mike McDaniel have been very easy. It's like they play a bad team, it's a win. They play a good team, it's a loss. Just about. And I didn't want to do that because I think things change at some point. So I got a weird one, and of course it's going to get the hate over here coming my way. I have an L.
A hater.
And I don't like Daniel Jones, but I think Daniel Jones in his first start, they're going to protect him, make him play easy. Jonathan Taylor could be a problem. And that Colts defense, despite some injuries in the secondary, has some really good players. DeForest Buckner is a really good defensive lineman. Zaire Franklin is a tackling machine at linebacker. And I've said this before many times. I can see X getting 2 picks and then pulling a hamstring or a groin in week 3. Just to go against this one.
He just speed runs his Dolphins tenure in the second quarter. It's just 2 picks and pulls his hamstring.
So I have a loss. I apologize. Sorry. New England at home for these home opener.
I have another win here. I think in Miami, I think they get it done against New England, but I think New England gets a little bit frisky when we get to the end of the season. But I think the Dolphins start 2-0.
I have a win as well. I refuse to go against the Dolphins at home in September. Period. And I'm with you. New England's going to be a problem later on in the year. Week 3 at Buffalo Thursday night.
All right, I got the Bills here. I'm at the point with the Dolphins that they are going to have to beat the Bills for me to start picking them against the Bills. Until they beat Buffalo, I'm taking Buffalo. So that'll spoil the later game too. I got Buffalo in that one as well. Like, They got to prove it to me. I got to see it with my own eyeballs, and then I'll feel okay picking them against Buffalo. Right now, I don't feel okay picking them against the Bills.
Okay, and guess what? I got the Dolphins winning that game. I got the Dolphins.
There we go. Now I'm the hater.
That's why I did that. Remember in 2022, the Dolphins beat the Bills in week 3.
They did. Of course,
that was in Miami, but still was week 3. I think the Bills are going to be really, really good by the end of the year. I think they have some question marks in the secondary that could be problematic, that Dolphins could exploit and maybe find a way to attack downfield. Week 4, Monday night game against the Jets at home.
I like the Dolphins here. I have them starting 3-1. I like the brain trust that the Jets brought in. I think the Jets are going to be more competent than usual, but I don't think they're going to quite get there this year. I think maybe next year is when you have to start taking the Jets a little bit more seriously, but I like Miami in this one.
And the Dolphins are wearing their rivalry jerseys, that uniforms that night. So how can they possibly lose? I also
That's a good take.
I mean, strong analysis right there. So for all of you who say I don't know anything about football, take that. Okay, week 5 at Carolina.
I have another win here. I struggled with this one though. I like the Panthers a little bit, like just a little. Like I think Bryce looks a lot better. I like what they did in the offseason. I still think the Dolphins are the better team. I think that Panthers defense is a little shaky. I could see that being a big Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill game. So I'm going to take the Dolphins starting 4-1.
Okay, and I have Carolina in that one, pulling off the upset. And I will give you one player that I didn't like I didn't like seeing Carolina sign recently is Hunter Renfrow, because he's a slot problem and going up against a rookie slot corner. That's a tough matchup for Jason Marshall Jr. And Bryce Young, as you mentioned, really, really came on toward the end of last season. Dolphins are a better team than Carolina, no question. It's also a road game after a Monday night. Just a hunch. Week 6, the Chargers at Hard Rock Stadium.
I have the Chargers here, so this would kind of be like my surprise one. I do think the Dolphins and the Chargers are relatively on the same level when looking at the roster. This was like, I don't think the Dolphins are going to start 5-1, so we have to give a loss here at some point. So I went with the Chargers. Should be a good game though. I think that's a winnable football game, and just I don't think the Dolphins are going to be 5-1, so we're going to give the loss there.
Okay, by the way, I should pause right here and say, Larry, by the way, if you follow me long enough, you know I don't like doing predictions, particularly game-by-game predictions. This is not to be taken seriously too much. This is an exercise. I will reserve the right to change my picks anytime I feel like it. But since you asked. Week 7, no, I have the Dolphins winning week 6. It's an October game, October 12th. The weather's still going to be an issue. Chargers having lost Rashawn Slater is humongous for them. And I think the Dolphins have too much pass rushing for Joe Alt to be able to handle just himself on one side. Week 7 is at Cleveland.
Yeah, I have the Dolphins there. I don't know how many games the Browns are going to win this year. That team's not very good. I got the Dolphins.
And for some reason, don't ask me why I have Cleveland. I think the defense can give the Dolphins some.
Okay, all right.
Week 8 at Atlanta.
So I actually flipped this one. I had Atlanta first, and now I have Miami. This was kind of my flex game because the way I do season-long predictions is I think of a win number, and then I build the predictions around the win number. So I flipped this one. I do think this is a decent matchup for them. I don't particularly like Atlanta's defense very much. I like their young players on defense, but they're young and they're inexperienced, and I think you can really attack and get after them. Maybe in a few years when this team grows up a bit, Atlanta could be a problem in the NFC. I really like their young core, but I think they're maybe a year too early. I think Miami gets it done.
I have Miami as well. I do remember, though, Kyle Pitts giving the Dolphins fits. Pitts gave him fits in 2021, but he's been very, very silent ever since then. Could it be a revival game for him? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I have the Dolphins winning. Week 9, Thursday night game against Baltimore.
Yeah, I like the Ravens here. I think a tough matchup for Miami in every way. I think the Ravens are really built to beat teams like Miami ultimately. So tough matchup. I like Baltimore. I just think they're the better team.
I have Baltimore as well. I think the Ravens might be the most talented team in the AFC. They're probably close to the Eagles as well, but I think they're just loaded everywhere. Just loaded. Week 9 at Buffalo. You already.
I spoiled this one. I got the Bills again. I'm sorry. When they beat the Bills, I'll start picking them against the Bills, but I got to see it first.
Yeah, and I personally can't see the Dolphins sweeping the Bills. That's too much of an ask. I have the Bills. We arrived to week 11, which is the Madrid game against the Washington Commanders.
I have a Dolphins win here. Surprise one. I think they go to Madrid. I think that they run the ball against a Commanders defensive front that I don't love. I think that they can get after them in the secondary as well. Stopping Jaden Daniels will be challenging. That's not going to be easy. This is not an easy matchup, but I got the Dolphins taking this one in Madrid.
I have the Dolphins as well. Then they have the bye. Week 13 is the New Orleans Saints at home.
Yeah, I got the Dolphins. The Saints looking like the number 1 overall pick this year, maybe. I think it might be between them and Cleveland.
Yeah, and the only question for me right now is whether they're going to be facing Spencer Rattler or will the Saints have switched to Tyler Shuff by that point. Yeah, I see New Orleans as an overwhelming favorite to land that number 1 overall pick. That's a rough looking team right there. That's 11, 12, 13. Hold on. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Week 14 is at the Jets. The Jets are wearing the rivalry uniforms on that day. Could be a problem.
Unfortunately, I'm going to pick against them in the rivalry uniforms. I like the Dolphins in that one as well. I just think the Jets are a year away. I do. I like what they're doing. I like the direction the organization is going. I like Aaron Glenn. I like their new GM. Obviously, I'm super biased because of their team, but I like those guys. I think they're going to do a good job. But I think the Dolphins are the better team this year. I think they get the sweep.
See, and I have the Jets here. And I remember like the Dolphins being so much better than the Jets in 2023, going to New York on Black Friday, and that thing's a game, despite Tim Boyle being the Jets quarterback.
Yeah.
With 10-6, with basically one play left in the second quarter, and then Javon Holland basically slamming it shut with the interception on the Hail Mary. If that doesn't happen, I think the Dolphins still win, but they go into halftime up 10-6 against a really bad team. So and I think Aaron Glenn's going to be a good coach. I see trouble here in that game. Week 15 is a Monday night game at Pittsburgh. Oh, that's going to be a fun one.
This is going to be a fun one, and I have the Steelers getting it. I picked the Dolphins to win a couple games, and I'm not sure that I think they're the better team. I think they are the better team in this. I really don't like the Steelers, if I'm being honest, but I think this is going to be one that the Steelers kind of sneak up on Miami. They get it on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and the Steelers are really, really good in prime time, and the Dolphins have not been good in prime time at all under Mike McDaniel. I have the Steelers as well. Week 16 is a Sunday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals at Hard Rock Stadium as I disappear from the screen.
All right, I'm flipping this one on its head. I got the Dolphins beating the Bengals in Hard Rock Stadium. I don't like Cincinnati's defense. I don't think they're going to be able to stop anybody, and I think this is the type of team that the Bengals are going to have to worry about. As a team like Miami, I think the Bengals can outscore teams that have like okay to decent, skill position players. Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle against this defense. It's a lot of yards, a lot of points, and I think the Dolphins have enough juice to get a few stops on the Bengals on the other side of the ball. I think it'll be a shootout, but I got Miami getting it.
I have Cincinnati. And yeah, it could be if both quarterbacks are in the game, you could be looking at like a 45-42 game. This should be fun to watch, but I have the Bengals in that one. Week 17, Tampa Bay at Hard Rock Stadium.
I have the Bucks. I have the Bucks coming into Hard Rock Stadium and getting the win. I really like Tampa Bay. I think if their offensive coordinator works out, I think they're going to be tough in the NFC this year. Like what they've done. So I got the Bucks in this one.
See, and I have the Dolphins. How about that? And wow. I know a lot of people are in love with the Bucks.
I don't know if I'm in love with the Bucks. Love's a strong word. I like the Bucks.
No. I'm not. I'm just saying you. I'm not saying a lot of. And to me, the best thing about the Bucks is they play the NFC South. I mean, that's
true. That's you're not wrong.
Because that division, to quote a friend of mine, is booty cheeks. And it's the same thing with the AFC South. And if you happen to be a good team there, I mean, the Bucks have won the division 4 straight years. Yeah, they play Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans every year. I think Baker Mayfield's made him turn his career around very, very well. I mean, hats off to him. But I think this is a game the Dolphins win. And finally, week 18 at New England, Gillette Stadium for the regular season finale.
I hinted at this earlier, but I actually think the Patriots get this one in New England. I think by the time the season's over, New England looks like a much better football team. I think they figure some things out under Mike Vrabel. I think Drake May's the real deal. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, whatever that means to you. So I have the Patriots getting this one in a series split. You could flip them. I just don't think it's going to be a sweep either way. I think this will be a series split this year.
No, I agree. And having said that, I meant to ask you this. Any thoughts on, since we're talking about the Patriots, and then let me finish. I also have the Patriots winning that game. And my final tally for the Dolphins. Again, this is preliminary.
No, you're stuck. You're stuck to this prediction. You can't change it.
That's funny.
You're stuck. This is it.
It's at 8-9. And by the way, Lieutenant Dan Taylor, barf to you too. The Canadian hat, South Florida sports reporter. Seriously, wear whatever hat I want. No offense. Go ahead.
All right, so I guess I'm
sorry, Jabril Peppers. What did your thoughts on him?
No.
Could he help the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, could he? Sure. Yeah, I think he could help the Dolphins. I mean, I think he's a starting caliber safety. So if you don't feel good about Ashton Davis or Ifeatu Melifonwu, yeah, I think he can help you. I think he can do some big slot things as well if you want to use him in that role. That can help Jason Marshall Jr. a bit. So I would kick the tires for sure. I think depending on how the financials work, I think you have to kind of get New England to pick up most of his salary if you're Miami. Which they might be forced to do depending on how he clears waivers, if I'm not mistaken.
He's not subject to waivers.
He's not subject. There's something where like they might be forced to pay his salary if he's signed a certain way, if I remember correctly off the top of my head.
I think he may have like offset language, I believe.
Yeah, or something like that. So as long as the Dolphins don't have to pay the full contract, I'm good with it. I think he can help them.
Yeah, the only problem though for me is you went out in the offseason, made it a point to bring in Ashton Davis and Ife Melifonwu.
Yeah.
And you trade. Okay, so who do you dump? You drafted Dante Trader Jr. in the 5th round. That's 4 of your 5 safeties, and the 5th one is Elijah Campbell, who's a special teams core guy. So where does Jabril Peppers fit? Not that I'm shooting down the idea that he could bring something, but something has to give if you bring him in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's tough because I don't know what's up with Dante Trader Jr. Like, I don't know what that injury is, like he really has barely played. He played 5 snaps against the Lions. He hasn't really been practicing that much. Like, is that something maybe they put him on short-term IR? He's out for 4 games. They try to bring him back. There's your roster space. I don't know. I really don't. I just I don't know what's going on there. But to get back to my prediction, I finished 10-7. So clearly I'm Mr. Optimism here. I'm Mr. Sunshine on the podcast.
And for the record, there's no way, in shape, or form am I saying that 10-7 is unattainable. We were doing this exercise because, again, Larry, you asked us to do it. I refuse to do predictions precisely for that. I don't know what the Dolphins are going to be. To me, anywhere between 7 and 11 wins is what I'm seeing, and it depends how the answers fall. And by the way, Marsalis, yeah, you got me because I picked Carolina to beat the Dolphins and the Dolphins to beat Tampa Bay. And I said that Tampa Bay wins the division every year because Carolina sucks. They're called upsets, Marsalis. You're not going to tell Tampa Bay is a better team than Carolina. Doesn't mean automatically that.
Carolina beat Tampa Bay last year once, didn't they? They upset them last year? I think they did. They might have. So
And Marsalis, you're really going to argue the point that that Tampa Bay plays in a crappy division, really? So anyway, okay, we're about halfway home. Again, gang, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. By the way, for those who keep talking about the hat, if you don't know by now, born and raised in Montreal, huge Expos fan growing up. This is my ode to not only the Expos and also to all the displaced franchises because I feel bad for any fan of a team that's left. When I see the Oklahoma City Thunder win the NBA title, I feel bad for the people in Seattle who had the Supersonics and saw them move for no reason. The Quebec Nordiques moved to Colorado, won the Stanley Cup as a Colorado Avalanche. That's, to me, it sucks for the people of Quebec City. Hartford Whalers, okay, so that's part of it. And I've said before, when we hit 15,000 subscribers, I wore a Dolphins hat. When we get to 20,000 subscribers, people get to work on this. I will wear not only a Dolphins hat, I will wear a Dolphins jersey. And the other part of the reason also that I don't wear a Dolphins hat is because, as I've said from the beginning, this is not a fan podcast. I'm a journalist. I've been covering the Dolphins on a full-time basis since 1989, for those who are not familiar with my story. So that's the deal with the no Dolphins hat in this instant. So, and every once in a while, I will show my hair. If I like the way it looks right now, it looks crazy. So I'm going to put the hat back on. Simple as that. Having gotten that out of the way, let's go to the comments, questions, all that. One of my favorites right here, Noel B1. Noel, thank you very much for the contribution. Much appreciated. I'm just hoping the Dolphins are exciting to watch again and somewhat relevant. I've just lived through too many years like 2024.
Yeah, I agree.
No, and here's the thing, too. The Dolphins fell short in 2023, but they were fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because there was, airing it out, like a lot of big plays on defense as well. Last year, they were not a fun team to watch with all the checkdowns and the bubble screens and all that.
No, even when they were winning, it was not what I would call honorable football when they were winning.
Honorable football. What's honorable football? You got to
honorable football is we're not using this RPO nonsense, these bubble screens. We're running downhill. We're doing drop back passing. We're blitzing the hell out of the other guys on defense. That's honorable football. We're getting down. We're playing well in the trenches. Last year was not honorable football. We're creating a run game in the passing game. Dishonorable. Do not like it. I hate it.
Okay.
So there you go. There's honorable football for you. That's a if you're on film Twitter, we use that term a lot, and it can mean whatever we want, really. That's what's great about it. But that's the gist of it, if you will.
Very nice. Okay. And for me, I'd go simple, like boring or fun to watch. And last year it was pretty enjoyable. Marcellus, thank you very much for the contribution, my friend. Talent is very important, and so is chemistry. We need to play a full season and the run game to improve. The goal should be winning the division. It will give us the best chance to win a playoff game. Hat tip, Mr. Poupart. Hat tip to you, Marcellus. And yeah, the Dolphins, especially with the way they're built, and I think as long as Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle, and even Achane are your main weapons on offense, this is going to be a team that really, really needs to play at home in the playoffs or luck out and play in Houston. I think if they have to go to a cold weather game where the elements kind of take us away some of that speed, along with the style of play in the playoffs, which immediately eliminates a lot of speed advantage, absolutely becomes more difficult.
Yeah, and I think if you look at every move the Dolphins made in the offseason, for the most part, there's a few outliers, but generally speaking, if you look at every move they made this offseason through the lens of can they play more honorable football, to put it in the film Twitter, right? Like that's like every move they made, right? It's we're going to draft a bunch of big dudes. We're going to invest in guard. We're going to invest in linebacker. We're going to bring back Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I have questions about Ashton Davis. I have questions about Ifeatu Melifonwu. Those guys play tough. They play tough. Whether they're good or bad or whatever, they play tough. You can say that about a lot of the underrated guys on the team. They play with a little bit of an edge. They're a lot tougher. If you look at the Dolphins offseason through that lens, almost every move that they made makes sense in some way. Do I think it's going to work? I don't know. Cautiously optimistic, like we said at the top of the show, but I think that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, and even the moves that didn't pan out, such as Pharaoh Brown, for example, he was signed to bring toughness to the run game.
Correct.
And so
it didn't work out.
and very surprising to me. And going back to the point of Marcel's chemistry is important. Sure, but chemistry doesn't make a tackle, which was always kind of my line. I to a certain degree, but I think sometimes that's over. Chemistry culture to me at times can get overrated.
I agree.
That's just me. Mandalorian, thank you very much for the contribution. 5 measly Welsh pounds for keeping me sane during preseason. Any contribution is very much appreciated, my friend. You'll have to let me know if Wales is a place worth visiting, as my wife and I always ponder vacation spots for the summer. So Northern Europe, maybe somewhere I want to go next summer because I don't want the heat anymore. Even Japan, as marvelous as it was so hot. I want to get away from the heat.
That's fair. That is very fair.
Gump, how are you, my friend? Thank you very much for the contribution. Alan, I know my broken record, but any chance you'd put out a video comparing the current team with the 1990 team, from criticism of the team heading into week 1 to each position group? I don't know about a video. I'm not really that technologically advanced. I can write stuff on a piece of paper and hold it up against a screen comparing the lineups. As far as criticism heading into week 1, man, that'd be a tough one of finding out. I don't know. First of all, I don't know if the scrutiny was that intense back then before regular season. I do know the Dolphins were coming off an 8-8 season. That was the year Richmond Webb in the first round, Keith Sims in the second round. It was just an insanely productive draft. And then the defense, all of a sudden, it clicked. And they finished 12-4 in the regular season, which now, even if the Dolphins were to finish 12-5 in 2025, sign me up. Not seeing it, but sign me up. Birthday salami, birthday. Thank you very much. Dante is an honorable.
I'll take it. Thank you. I would say it's the best compliment I could get.
You fooled another one. That's funny. I kid. That's funny, salami. I'm going to go backwards here. JW Pile, probably 11-6 losses to Buffalo and Buffalo, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Washington, Tampa, and New England last game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We're missing a game.
No.
Right? Or no, you can be 11-6. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We didn't go to 18 yet. That's fair. It could happen.
Lieutenant Dan is on this thing. Poop, you don't understand. Locals are upset with the watering down of our home/fan bases. Everyone reps another state's team because they weren't born here. It's a slap in the face of real Floridians. One more time. Okay. This is after I said it one more time. I am not a Dolphin fan. This is not a fan podcast. I am a journalist who covers the Dolphins and have done so for now 36 years. Therefore, I have attained a certain amount of Dolphin history knowledge. A lot, actually. Football knowledge, not so much, but I keep trying to learn. So, again, no. I know of a lot of fan podcasters who are very good, who have their background is walls decorated with Dolphin paraphernalia. Go for it. Watch those as well. This is for the premise of this podcast from the time I started was honest discussions, no bias, objective about the Miami Dolphins. And little humor in there. If you guys think I'm funny. Why are you laughing?
I think you're funny. That's why I'm laughing.
And historical knowledge. I had some people actually suggest I start some kind of like a Dolphin history podcast. If I knew that there would be enough of a following, absolutely, because I like looking back at that stuff. Certain fans, whenever I put it up, like Dolphin history lesson, can we fast forward? Okay, actually, I need to go because the problem is we're going to go back here to the top. Bonjour, Capitaine Poupart. I like that. That's funny. By the way, since I like to throw in a little pop culture here and there for no reason whatsoever, watched a very, very, very good movie today called Incendie, INCENDIES. It's a Canadian / it's Arab movie. It's very, very good. It's from 2010, but it was very, very good. Completely apropos of nothing. Dylan right here. Dylan's a good one too. Dylan, hey, Alan, hope you're having a good weekend. Hope you're having a good weekend as well, my friend. Watching a little bit of tennis this afternoon, and after we're done here, I'm going to sit down and watch UM Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Canadian Monte Poop, Gary Carter, greatest expo ever. Dante, who's your favorite expo ever?
Oh my God. Can I name a single player from the Montreal Expos? All right. When did the Expos leave Montreal?
2004 was their final season.
Okay, I was 4 years old. Moses Alou. Did he play on the Expos?
Very, very nice. Well done. The
Let's go.
There you go. Look, that deserves this.
Yes.
Moses Alou. Very nice. He was part of the 1994 team that should have won the World Series. Dylan again. Hey, Dylan, I'm concerned about a point you made recently about Hill's body not being what it used to be. Are you concerned he won't make it through all 17 games this season? Dante, is this why you think Waddle surpasses? And Dylan clearly read your story on your bold predictions. Let me address it first, and then I'll let you chime in. Yes, I'm concerned about Tariq's body holding up. Why? Because he's 30, 31 now, and there have been little injuries here and there. And when those things start happening, it's not because he doesn't take care of his body, because the dude's built like a rock. But unfortunately, they keep happening. Dante, one of his bold predictions, as Dylan just mentioned, was Jalen Waddle would be the guy at wide receiver. Dante, care to elaborate?
Yeah, part of the reason I think Jalen Waddle could end up being the most productive receiver the Dolphins have this year is because some of these injuries are just starting to mount up with Tyreek. I don't know that it's going to be like anything. Like, I don't think Tyreek's going to fall off a cliff. I don't think he's going to have a bad season. And I wrote this in the story too. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be better than he was last year. But it doesn't take much. He was battling the wrist injury last year, and he went for under 1,000 yards. And the injury that he has now, he's had for a bit, and he's just kind of been hanging around and catching some balls on the sideline and stuff. It doesn't take much when you're 31. It really doesn't. And so it is one of the many reasons that I think that there's a decent chance Jalen Waddle just is the Dolphins wide receiver 1 this year. Now, you would be fair to point out that Jalen Waddle also has his share of nagging injuries. But if you look at Jalen Waddle's career, he plays for the most part. And I think Tyreek will play through those too. I'm just betting on youth a little bit. And when you're 31, the hamstring takes a little bit longer to heal. The wrist takes a little bit longer to heal, all those different things. It just is what it is. Tyreek Hill's not an injury-prone player. He's getting older, and he runs really fast. And those soft tissue issues are going to pop up. I still have the utmost confidence in him on the football field as a player who I think will be very productive and have a good year for the Dolphins this year. But it does concern me a bit to see him kind of dealing with these nagging injuries.
Yeah, and that's my thing as well, because I'm not worried at all about the production if he's healthy. I'm just worried about that. This is a very good question. KO's asking, should we have taken a quarterback like Jalen Milroe, Shedeur Sanders, or the like? This is not something the Dolphins do. Dolphins will take a quarterback in the 7th round. Look at that's what they did with Skylar Thompson in 2022, with Quinn Ewers this year. Before that, it was like, I can't remember the last time they took one like at a reasonable round, if it's not a 1st round pick, when they really need a quarterback. That's just not there. Should they have done it?
It's tough. Conceptually, I like the idea. I don't know that this was the year for it. Right, because I think Shedeur kind of comes with the whole pony show, and I think given what Miami spent the entire offseason doing, and this isn't fair to Shedeur. Shedeur seems like he's a good kid. He seems like he's handling these things well. Every time I hear him talk, he's very composed. He says the right things, blah blah blah. But he comes with that, whether that's fair to him or not. And I don't think it's fair to him, but it is what it is. I think the only guy you could think about taking in the middle rounds was Jalen Milroe. So would I rather have Jalen Milroe or over Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers, or would I rather have Jalen Milroe and Zach Wilson over Quinn Ewers? I don't know, because then I don't get Jordan Phillips probably. Maybe I don't get the trade up for Jonah in round 2. I don't think this was the year. It just wasn't a very good quarterback class. There were very few players that I had a ton of confidence in. Obviously, you Cam Ward go number 1, who's the best quarterback in the class. He's right off the board. So I like the idea. I just don't know that last year was the year to do it.
That's fair. And again, the bigger point is that's not their MO. It's not what the Dolphins do. What do we have here? Birthday Salami again. Whoa, very nice. Thank you very much, Birthday Salami. Very, very kind of you. Finns fans are eager for 17 to become number 1 wide receiver. While you want him to emerge, you need to feature 10. It's a win-win. Either production leads to more wins or it pumps up his stock for the deadline. Also, Poop, you are like a cool uncle to me. Love you. Aw, dude, just deserve one of these. Although from an uncle to you, I hope you're young. Otherwise, you're calling me old. But I'll let it slide. And I'm completely with you. The Dolphin offense will be at its best if Tyreek Hill is going off like he did in 2023.
I agree. I'm not arguing that point at all. No.
And I like Waddle as a receiver, but he's not Tyreek. It's a different level when both are at their peak. Gart Bump. Poop, you may not technically be a fan, but tell me you weren't jazzed about the opportunity to see Chubb, Phillips, and Chop on the field together on 3rd and long. Yeah. And I would actually, you know what? I'll go you one further. I'm looking forward to seeing Chop, Chubb, Phillips, and Matthew Judon on the field on 3rd and 12, and then watch the other team run a draw play for 15 yards. I kid. I'm joking. It's a joke, folks. I couldn't resist. It was too easy. But yeah, no, they have very interesting possibilities. And I like Chris Greer's answer when he was asked about the addition of Matthew Judon and whether this was a hedge against Phillips and Chubb and their durability concerns. And he admitted that it was, we want to build as much depth as possible. And it'd be naive to say that wasn't an issue. And to me, it was like, props for him.
You would know better than me. I have a question for you. I'm not in the chat. Do you feel like Chris has been way more candid since April than he usually is?
The one in April, not so much. And again, this is after he speaks before the draft and he speaks after the draft.
Right.
The draft, it's the same things you hear from every team. He's the guy we targeted, and all that. It's amazing how every team gets every guy they had targeted. It's amazing. It's uncanny how it happens. And before the draft, they just don't want to reveal anything.
Right.
He said that the press conference he gave last week may have been the most candid, forthright, in terms of what he was saying. In fact, I was telling the guys after the other media guys after he was done, it was like, he just gave us too much news, too much. It was like, stop, enough, all right, stop.
Yeah.
But I liked it. No, he was very, very forthcoming, and it was good.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Noel here. Noel, thank you again very much for the contribution. With all the flags and execution issues that happened early last year, why do you think this year will be different? Seattle game was ugly on so many levels. The Seattle game, the Tennessee game was woof. Tennessee game was. Why do I think this year will be different? Because the Dolphins have learned from their mistakes. Because Mike McDaniel is a very, very smart guy. No matter all the arrows he keeps taking on social media, including here in the comments. And I will tell you that early in camp, I saw there were a lot of flags on offense. Dolphins and this was different. From the start this year, they brought out officials. At the first training camp practice, they had officials. They had only 2, but still, last year, it wasn't until, and the years before, like the first padded practice might have been the first time you had officials. This year, right from the start, and the first week or so, it was Flag City. And then as training camp continued, those things disappeared. So I would tell you there's reason for hope that that'll be better in that area. Chaos again. Every year they talk about schedule strength. I really think we can be like 8-0 or 7-1 to start. Thoughts? I think it's a good chance for us to sweep Buffalo this year. Not that they do well usually. 8-0 or 7-1.
So that would be. I mean, it's. If you think about it, right, so the first 8 games are Colts, Patriots, Bills, Jets, Panthers, Chargers, Browns, Falcons. That's the first 8 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I think every single one of those games is winnable, right? Like they're winnable games. If you're going to play Buffalo in this stretch, it's better. Or no, that one's on the road. So that's the one that's like the tough one, right? But there's your 7-1. So like I mean, I almost had them at that. I have them 6-2. So 7-1's not too far off.
And if the Dolphins are the team that we all want them to be, because yes, even though I'm not a fan, I do want them to do well, because guess what? It's good for business. And also it's a lot more fun to cover a team that's relevant down the stretch. There's nothing worse. And by the way, just full disclosure, if it's a complete train wreck, there's some interest there as well, because then you start talking about the potential changes or a high draft pick. The worst is 7-10, 8-9.
Yeah,
that's horrible. So, but no, yeah, if they are to be the team that we hope they are, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think 8-0 is a stretch. I don't know if they're that kind of team, but 7-1.
Here's the big point, and I think you'll agree with this. If the Dolphins are going to be a playoff team this year, they have to win 6 of those first 8 games. Because I think if you look at the bottom half of the schedule, if those teams are who we expect them to be, I think Ravens, Bills, Commanders is 3 tough games. I think Steelers, Bengals, Bucks, Patriots are going to be 4 tough games to end the year. I think the Jets will be better than they were last year. I think you're only really truly bad team you're going to see past week 8 is New Orleans.
Yep.
Right. I have the Dolphins winning some of those games, right? For sure. I think I have them going 4-3 or whatever down the stretch, but they need to win these games at the beginning of the year. They need to beat the Colts. They need to beat the Patriots. If they're going to make the playoffs, they need to beat the Panthers. They need to beat the Browns, the Falcons. They need to beat these teams they're supposed to beat. If they don't, they drop a couple of those games. This second half of the schedule, if those teams are, a lot of old playoff teams there, Ravens, Bills, Commanders, Steelers, Bengals, Bucks, all made the playoffs last year. And the other 2 are divisional games. It's a tough stretch.
No, without question. Yeah, the Dolphins need to make their hay, as the expression goes, early in the season. And particularly since they're not known as a great closing team. Well, then again, last year, no, they were good closing last year. They were better down the stretch than they were, but the years before that. So,
yeah.
excellent point you make there, Double D72. Doesn't every team have ifs? Yes.
Absolutely.
But as I mentioned earlier, the Dolphins just happen to have more ifs, maybe substantially more ifs than most of your legitimate playoff hopefuls, such as Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, Denver, the Chargers, Cincinnati, Houston, those type of teams. That's the difference. But yes, every team. Adam, this is the worst I felt about a season since the tank year. I'm just sick of the same old Dolphins. I hope they can prove me wrong this season, make progress in any of the areas they need to. Yikes. Don't know what to say to that.
That's a tough one.
Chaos, he was okay, and so was Kendall Fuller. I don't know what that refers to. If by he was okay, you talking about Jalen Ramsey because he was the other starting cornerback? Sorry, it was better than okay. And yes, there were games when he got beat. Garrett Wilson gave him a hard time. Marvin Harrison Jr. gave him a hard time. Overall, if you don't think Jalen Ramsey was good last year, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, if I remember correctly, we brought him up in comparison to the current quarterback room. So, like, is he better than the current corner room? That was the conversation that we were having earlier. I think he still is. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong by the end of the year. Maybe somebody breaks out. That'd be nice.
I mean, and again, he just couldn't get a lot of. Also, understand the way he was used. He came in on the blitz quite a bit, and he was asked to cover guys one-on-one at times. I still think he was good. He wasn't all-pro Jalen Ramsey, but he was good. Harlando, 14-win team, HN, 1,300 yards, 4,200 yards, 29 TDs. Reek, 1,400 yards, 6 TDs. Waddle, 1,200, 10 TDs. Gordon, 700 yards, 8 TDs. Sold.
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds great. It sounds like a fun team to cover. Let's do it.
Dylan, wasn't Mike White this time last year? Wasn't it Tim Boyle? Mike White was here in training camp, was among the final cuts, signed with the Buffalo Bills practice squad. Tim Boyle was signed after Tua was injured. Dolphins started the season with just Tua and Skylar Thompson. Then they added Tim Boyle. Then they signed Tyler Huntley off the Baltimore Ravens practice squad.
Yes, nailed it.
Yeah. Raheem started slow and fumbled too much. That's how he lost his job to HN in the first place. No, Raheem started in the first place. Then he got hurt in the opener against Jacksonville, missed a couple of games. That's how he lost his job to HN, and HN really did the job. And then Mike fell in love with him a little bit too much for my taste. Personally, I prefer HN as a change of back type of guy as opposed to a workhorse type because he just doesn't have the body for it. That's just me. Delish, bottom line, it's a transition year. We need to follow up with one more good draft to help big wild card across next 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Not wrong. You believe we're a week away. Love that. When will team travel to Indy? Probably Saturday. It's usually what they do. Sometimes I'm trying to remember. They don't have any West Coast trips this year. When they go to Madrid, I'm not sure exactly when they'll fly in. I think their last trip to Germany, they may have flown Tuesday, maybe. I think London, the last time they flew on Thursday, but usually for a road trip like Indy, they'll usually fly out on Saturday. Mark with a thank you for us. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for watching.
Mark.
No reason Miami shouldn't be 2-0 going into Buffalo week 3. The only reason would be if they lose one of the two games.
How about that?
Oh, Marsalis, ouch. I'm not taking that opinion on the Colts game seriously. LOL, sorry. Is that from me or from Dante?
It's definitely not from me because I picked them to win. That's you.
I love this one. Check this one out coming up. El Baron de Tete, hey Poupart, what WTF have you ever accomplished in life that's equivalent to a playoff team?
Man,
No, you know what? No, I have had my major accomplishment was getting a comment from you on a YouTube podcast. That is major, my man.
Those are always my favorite type of comments where they're like, what have you ever done on the football field? It's like, brother, you got to hold the team to a higher bar. Okay, I'm 5'10". I'm not doing anything on the football field. If your bar is better than me, your bar needs to be higher in life. I'm sorry.
I know.
Those comments drive me nuts because they're just like, What do you mean? What have I done on the football field? What does it matter? Well, it doesn't mean anything.
No, but this one didn't even limit it to the football field. He said, "What have you ever accomplished?" Tell you what, put your address in the chat here, and I'll send you a copy of my resume with all my accomplishments.
There we go.
Lordy. But thanks for the laugh. It was funny. What do we got here? We're about to wrap this up here, where we have reached the hour mark, and let's see what else we got. I don't want to miss out. Good. Oh my God, you're so clever. Wow. Oh my God, you're so clever. I have to show you how clever El Baron de Tete is. My Lord, are you clever? Wow.
You.
And by the way, it's Y-O-U-R, not apostrophe. Okay, and feel free not to watch. Seriously. I sure as hell do not want before I block him and report him, whatever I have to do. Disappear, dude. Seriously, go watch another podcast, because obnoxious doesn't begin to describe you. Anyway, Dennis, can you comment on the impact of Butch Barry? Patrick seems to be coming along nicely, and Jonah seems legit. I seem to recall Butch came from the Broncos with some negative reports. That's being very, very kind. And again, yeah, the reports are the Patrick Paul's coming along nicely. Jonah seems legit. Training camp and preseason. Too early to tell, I remember, because last year there were certain members of the Dolphin media contingent who were ready to praise, Butch Barry all over the place. And then the offensive line had a disappointing year, and all of a sudden there's not a word about Butch Barry. So let's see how this season progresses.
You know what I think Butch Barry's biggest accomplishment is? He made Austin Jackson into like a league average tackle. That is like a gigantic accomplishment, dude. Austin Jackson was not going to be in the league if he didn't figure it out in 2023. Like, seriously, like, it was that bad. And Butch Barry helped him turn it around. So whatever Butch Barry is or isn't, he saved Austin Jackson's career. Truly. Like, Jackson is like a solid player now, thanks to Butch Barry.
And I'm going to wrap this up with this one right here. Dean Wiener, I've been a fan for 40 years and have to say, as apathetic as I've been, I'm cautiously optimistic about this year. I like the young and hungry guys playing more. Reminds me of the Jimmy Johnson days. Very nice. And I chose that one to end it because there's another tie into UM. And again, UM Notre Dame in about half an hour. Go Hurricanes. Jimmy Johnson, whose tenure with the Dolphins was so insanely underrated to me, made the playoffs 3 times in 4 years after inheriting a tough salary cap situation after replaced Don Shula in 1996. And yet that team was playing hard. It wasn't uber talented, and the Dolphins didn't accomplish the goal of getting to the Super Bowl like he had with the Cowboys, but they didn't make the playoffs 3 times out of 4 years. So it wasn't all bad. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, unless you know who you are. Don't even bother commenting because it's going to get deleted and reported. Everybody else, more than welcome. Please or the thumbs up also. It helps with the algorithm. Check out the website, MiamiDolphinsNSI.com, where you will find the fine work from this gentleman to my right or to my left, wherever you're looking. Dante Collinelli. We will be back here on Monday. Dolphins are back at practice, and we'll take it from there. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.